Holy balls, everybody! It's Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. I'm Greg Miller, Glen Egan, Matt Kraemer, Sanzaru Games. Colin was giving me a lot of trouble because I've been saying Zanzaru lately.
Yeah, I heard that a little in the preview.
Yeah,
but well educated.
You know, you shouldn't make up words. You should stick to real words. Sorry. All right, good. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the next 2 hours live streaming Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, the game these two men made all by themselves. No help from Ninja XYZ. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
You've brought plenty of goodies. We have Sanzaru shirts, cups, more shirts, and then cream of the crop, Sly collection, and copies of Thieves in Time. We will be giving them away throughout the show. You want one too?
Yeah, this is the first time we've actually seen
the box?
The physical
Look how good it looks.
box.
Look, and it's got the cross-buy on there. Very important, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, Sly Cooper. You buy it once on the PS3, you get the Vita version for free. You cloud save back and forth. You pick up where you left off.
Yep.
Great idea. More games should do it, right, Madden? Guys, let's jump right into the game. What are we going to be seeing here? What are we doing for 2 hours?
Some Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. First, we're going to start off here and we'll watch the... Oh my God, the icon looks amazing. But we're going to watch a little bit of a backstory. Okay. You know, the game takes place a little bit after Sly 3. So we'll be watching a little cartoon story to fill in the gaps from the last game.
Awesome. We'll be quiet during that. While this is happening, start tweeting questions for Glenn, for Matt, for Sly Cooper in general. Tweet at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper. Every so often, we'll pick a winner to win the games, win a prize pack of shirts and cups. Let's see the story. Man, you suck at collecting bottles.
These numbers will increase as I am playing.
As the game goes on.
I'm guaranteeing that those numbers will increase. I'm not sure about the one over on the right. I may have a little.
Greg's going to be after.
I'm after. The trophies number is the one I'll be quiet.
I should probably just start at the beginning. The name's Sly. Sly Cooper. And I'm a thief. From a long line of thieves. In fact, thieving is the family business. And business was good. Although, until recently, I considered myself retired. Having hung up my mask and cane, I was enjoying life on the other side of the law. In the company of a certain lovely Interpol agent named Carmelita Fox. She and I had a history, which generally involved her trying to lock me up. So, I should mention our current situation was only possible because she thought I had amnesia. I didn't. It was great to finally enjoy each other's company without a shock pistol being involved, and we quickly put the past behind us. But as time went on, the old itch came back, and I knew I needed to pull a heist. I should also mention that as a master thief, I only steal from other thieves. So it took me a while, but I finally found what I was looking for. My target was an upstart art mogul, a real hotshot collector. He seemed respectable, had even opened a new museum. But I could smell a rat. Reliable sources told me he was dealing in black market antiques worth millions. So I felt he should share the wealth. I was working on a plan when one night, as if on cue, Bentley showed up. Bentley was the brains of our operation, the mastermind. We grew up in the same orphanage where we bonded over stealing cookies, our very first heist, and we've been best friends and partners ever since. We hadn't seen each other for a while, but I knew immediately that something was up. Bentley had been enjoying his time off too, building a new lab from scratch with his girlfriend and fellow tech whiz, Penelope. She had joined the team on our last caper, and the two of them had really hit it off. Apparently, they just finished work on a top-secret project when Penelope had simply vanished. Bentley was worried sick. He searched frantically but found nothing. Then, he noticed something that completely stunned him. In his spare time, Bentley had been researching the Thievius Raccoonus, the Master Thief's handbook passed down through the Cooper family for generations. Its pages overflowing with the exploits and secret techniques of my esteemed ancestors. Only now, those pages weren't so full. In fact, they were disappearing right before Bentley's eyes. Realizing there was no time to waste, he gathered his gear and raced off to Paris. The first thing Bentley did was track down Murray, the third in our trio. Murray was our enforcer, the muscle, and the guy who'd eaten all the cookies we stole back in our orphanage days. Through the years, the three of us had become an unbeatable team, and we were more like a family now than a gang. Murray had been living his dream on the pro driving circuit, where his van had become famous, or rather, infamous, for all the crashes he'd caused. Eventually, he was unable to find a sponsor due to his high insurance premiums, and he moved into Demolition Derby, where he remained undefeated. When Bentley showed up, however, Murray dropped everything to help out. Especially when Bentley explained that his van was the key to the whole plan. With Carmelita distracted by a new assignment, I took the opportunity to slip away and met up with the guys at our old Paris hideout. Bentley launched into one of his elaborate presentations, and I saw the whole scary picture. Someone, or something, was literally erasing Cooper history. Then, to our amazement, Bentley revealed that he already had the solution: time travel. It turns out his top secret project was constructing a time machine. And now he modified the design to fit into Murray's van. We were going to travel back in time, stop those responsible, and fix the damage they'd done. Bentley explained the only catch was that in order to travel to a particular time, the machine required an object from that era. We knew from the changes to the Thieves Raccoonus that our first stop was feudal Japan. So here we were, about to steal a priceless 17th century samurai dagger from the same museum I'd been casing. Funny how things work out sometimes.
There you go.
Yeah, and it's completely optional. You know, it's a pretty lengthy cartoon, but
Sure.
you know, some people haven't played the the old games, and it gets everybody up to
Well,
speed.
and that's a big part for you guys. You know, it's Sly's back. This is his first PS3 game. It's his first game in a while, and of
Yeah.
course, you guys are picking up from where Sucker Punch, who created Sly, left off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we really want to make sure that people that hadn't, been sort of engrossed in a story, the way we have for the last few years.
Yeah, right. Not everyone's poring over design docs and seeing Bentley every day.
Yeah, just get them back all on the same page. Because those things are gonna keep on coming back as you play in the game.
Oh, sure.
And learning more and more about the Cooper clan and their history.
So we have our first question from Twitter. Remember, of course, to be part of the show, tweet at IGN, #SlyCooper for your chance to get your question read and win some fabulous prizes, including the game. Our first question comes from Nick the Game, Triple H1. Long name, Nick. What kind of new freedoms did you have when making a Sly Cooper game on PS3? It's an interesting question, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you guys had, of course, done the Sly collection.
Yeah.
You'd help port those games over, but then coming in, finally getting to make your own thing, make your own story. Did you feel that you had to be super, like, within the lines of what the old Sly games were, or could you branch out and do your own thing?
Well, I think that we're big fans of the Sly series anyway, so it wasn't like we were just all of a sudden gonna, head off into left field. And,
Red Raccoon, all right.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. I mean, and so that I don't think was like this, like, oh, can somebody tell us the box we have to live in?
Yeah.
Right.
That wasn't really the approach. The approach was, hey, how do we want to continue? This cool story, this cool franchise.
Right.
And then just with the PS3 itself, you got a lot more room. It's a much cooler, bigger device than the PlayStation 2.
Sure.
So we had a lot more space to deal with, but it was very, very important for us to make sure that we were maintaining the density of the gameplay. We didn't want to create just these big, giant, empty spaces where you didn't do anything and stuff like that. Sly's all about traversal and looking for lines and finding your way up to different
The
places.
other thing is the expectation. It's a franchise that everybody loves. People have wanted another Sly Cooper for a really long time. It's been 7+ years. So one of the big things was that expectation. We don't want an Indiana Jones Crystal Skull.
No, you do not.
I don't want aliens in my Indiana
fridge.
Jones. So and that was really important to us. We need to stay in the tone of the franchise in terms of the writing, and then how the characters feel and the types of gameplays that people would expect. But being on the PlayStation 3, there's also an expectation. Like you said, it's the first time it's going to be on that particular platform, so there's expectations.
So, I mean, was your mantra coming in pretty much like, if it isn't broke, don't fix it? Because, I got to play through this in preview a couple weeks ago, and what stood out to me was the fact that it feels like Sly Cooper, right? Like, I'm sure you could have gone and done these crazy three-dimensional...
That is absolutely the best thing anybody could say. We brought it to E3, and, in 2011, and people had played it for the first time, and they're like, this feels like Sly Cooper. This is the Sly Cooper I remember. This is what I would expect it to be. And from a developer that was given the chance to make such a fantastic franchise, that's the best thing we could hear.
Of course.
So.
Right now, Star-Lord tweets in, Star-Lord15 actually. He tweets at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper, just like you can. Get your question on there. Maybe win something eventually. How much input did the original developer Sucker Punch have? Did you guys use them as a resource to make it feel like a Sly Cooper? Or is this the Sly Cooper game you guys always wanted to make?
Well, Sucker Punch. We go back to the original kind of way that we got into making it. This is something that we looked at and thought, hey, this is a great game that we want to play. And so we approached Sony and we put together a demo and said, hey, we see Sucker Punch really busy with Infamous. How about we make the next in the series?
Yeah.
And so that led to working on the Sly Collection. And so that really kind of gave us them the confidence in us that we could actually make this game.
Yeah.
And from there, they sort of their approach was not to get really involved in it. Was not to get like on a micromanaged level, because they said, we want to see where you're going to take it,
right?
And we want to play it once you're done with that. So at various times we do builds and things like that, but it was more of a coming in and giving us good advice when we needed it, and critiques and stuff, and saying, hey, this is a little weird here, and that's a little weird there, and things like that. So not a huge amount of oversight, but obviously with the story as well, working together to make sure that we're on the path there.
Star-Lord15, that was a good question. For it, you win the Sly Collection on PlayStation 3, along with some fabulous Sanzaru prizes. You got shirts, we got cups. It's a random grab bag of whatever Eric on the social team gives you, but you get the game for sure. Sly Collection, some other stuff there. Let me just say, 6 years here at IGN myself, you guys are one of my favorite stories. I just love the balls on you. You're like, they're not making a Sly game, right? Not that I think. All right, let's make a demo. Let's make a demo and go to Sony and say, hey, can we do this?
And I mean, that's the thing, when we pitched the game, it wasn't just a PowerPoint presentation or, a documentation. We went in with a demo. And the demo was just Sly running around in a small space. And, what does Sly Cooper look like on the PlayStation 3? How does he move? How does he feel? And then we picked a handful of contextual moves to work on. And then we showed that and kind of had an outline of the story and kind of where we wanted to take it. And, that was it from there.
Okay. So, talking about what's actually on the screen right now, Matt, Sly's trying to break in, trying to get this time machine working by finding the sword.
Yep. So the time machine works through carbon dating. So every time they're going to go, yes, of course. But every time period that they're going to go to, they need an item from that particular time period to travel there. So here we're breaking into this museum to get the item to travel to our first destination.
And here we're just doing a little detour to highlight one of the collectibles. I mean, there's tons and tons of collectibles you can get throughout the levels. But here we have the slime mask that I want to retrieve here while this helicopter doesn't bust me. Would I like to go to the unlockables menu?
These unlock some really cool things. And we have a bunch of different metagame of collectibles in the game. The clue bottles are back. Those weren't in 3.
Come on!
And, we have the Sly mask. We have the treasure. Now, all of those things have their own metagame structure where they're going to unlock some cool things. It's not like you're just collecting 10 of these things to get a trophy or whatnot. They're all going to unlock some pretty neat little surprises.
So, a question I always have is, we've been talking about everything you're putting in there, all these collectibles, all the masks, all the bottles, all the trophies. At what part of the game do you worry about that? Is that something that's happening organically while you're making levels, or is that something you make the level and then go back and try to figure out, hiding places?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both. Originally we only had the bottles and the treasures. I really like the treasures from the old game. But the problem was when you bring them back to your hideout, they were just gone. You never got to look at them or take a look at the story of what that particular item was. So now when you bring back the treasures, you bring them back, you'll get to look at them in this cool little shelf that you have in your hideout, and each of them have their own little story. And then collecting all of those unlocks something else in the hideout. And we'll take a look at the hideout when we get to our first destination.
Well, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're going for 2 hours. Plenty of time to see plenty of things.
It's greatness, and I'm about to code a hacking masterpiece.
Now we're going to switch over to Bentley, the brains of the gang. And
the first time I was in these sewers, I was just a teenager. I do the stand-in Bentley voice.
Okay. It's pretty good. Well, I don't know, Sly.
Oh, that's even better.
I'm not far from your office. I will gladly come down.
Glen does the Carmelita, which is,
Let's hear it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
See, isn't it good?
So now, for people who haven't been following you, you get to play as the whole crew once again. You get the Murray in there, you get the Bentley, obviously, the hover wheelchair, which I love.
Yep.
You can talk. We're a very low buzz show. It's louder for them watching at home, but you want the TV turned up too?
Yeah, if we can get the brightness on this guy.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
That'd be awesome.
We'll have our tech guys come in. I pay people to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, but you got Sly, Bentley, Murray, and then you'll have the ancestor that you meet from that particular time period. And also for the first time you have Carmelita. So once she kind of meets up with the gang, I'm not going to tell you how that happens.
Okay.
But she does become a playable character with the gang. You can take her out at any time and play with just Carmelita.
Great. Now we have another question here, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be part of the show, if you'd like to try to win a copy of the Sly Collection and or Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, you have to tweet at IGN, #SlyCooper. Now, if you want to hear about somebody desperately trying to get on your good side, this question comes from Zanzaru Rocks on Twitter.
Oh boy,
the gaming scene has changed since the PS2 days. How has Sly adapted to the overall changes of the gaming scene? Like, what are some of the things you guys had to change or I guess bring in? Because it does feel very much like I already said, a Sly game, right? Like you're double jumping, hitting circle to interact and land on things and run on the blue lines and everything else. What are some of the other things you had to worry about?
It's definitely a larger game. The hubs are much bigger. With games like Assassin's Creed and games, like Arkham Asylum that just have that large environment to traverse, we need to follow suit. So a lot of the environments that you see will be, about the same size of what you would have played from those games.
Gotcha. Cool. Also, for me, when I was doing the preview, when I got here to the Bentley stuff, this is like when it really started to speak to me. I thought of how good your animations were.
Our animators rock.
The way he spins, it looks so smooth. And I know this is nerdy video game stuff, but if you didn't know you're watching IGN, we're a nerdy video game people. But the way he spins, the way he jumps and hovers and stuff, I was just like, this is top notch.
Yeah, we have some great animators, and just overall, at Sanzaro, we just have a great team, and that's another thing that we're really lucky to have is just such a great team that likes what they're working on. Working in the video game business, sometimes you have to work on things you don't necessarily like. And, we really had the luxury here to work on a franchise and the type of game that I enjoy playing, that the team enjoys playing, and we just really love the franchise. So everybody that works on the game, the animators, the programmers, they really all bring that love to the table, and you're always going to get your best work when you're doing something that you enjoy that much. So the animators will like that.
Yes.
Yeah, clip that out.
We got the map.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is another new feature. We had added the map, which they don't have a map in the older games, and a lot of it just comes from the sheer size of the space that you're moving around.
Yeah, I mean, when you're building bigger spaces, it's no fun being lost. We want to make sure that people understand where it is they're heading, and let's just get you to the action and have fun with it.
Obviously, we're playing on PlayStation
Break the lights.
3.
Break the lights.
Another thing that I tried out and I was like, oh, yeah, I thought everything.
Yeah, and the lighting changes.
Well, I like that. Like that is totally a nerdy techie video game part of it. But yeah, I was smashing everything I could trying to get all these points. Of course, you didn't include trophies on this build, so I couldn't see any of that.
I'm sorry, Greg.
Thanks.
Soon.
All right, good. It's about time. One of the things you're talking about bringing it to the PlayStation 3. What about bringing it to the Vita? I mean, was that always the plan, or did Sony at some point did Shuhei Yoshida come knock on the door one day and be like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
No, the game. I mean, we started as a PlayStation 3 game. We got really far. developing it, and then we had the proposal to do the Vita version. So, and then we crammed everything into the Vita. So your experience that you're going to have on the PlayStation 3 is it's the same game. It's the same game. It's the same fidelity of animations, everything else that you're going to see on the PlayStation 3.
Love these mini games, by the way. Was that intimidating? I mean, is it? I mean,
for the programmers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean,
not for me.
It's one of those things when we talk about on Podcast Beyond, of course, available right now on iTunes, or any other IGN video series or something. For us, for us as players and stuff who don't understand the technical aspects, it seems so easy. You'll just port it over.
It's not. It's tough. And then you got to think of the control scheme and everything else. But I love the Vita. I think the Vita has so much potential, and what we've done here, I hope other people can look at, because there's very few games that live up to graphical standards of what you'll see from Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. I mean, Assassin's Creed Liberation, I think, looks fantastic on the Vita, and Uncharted, looks great. So hopefully we'll get more games of that level.
Sure. Let's go to Twitter. Remember, be part of the show. Tweet at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper. Maybe win some fabulous prizes. Remember, not guaranteed to win. I will call out your name if you win. Say you won something. Don't tweet at me in 3 days and try to pull the wool over my eyes and say you won something. I'll know. All right, here we go. Okay. BardaPack44 says, first tweet. Big fan of Sly series. How big are the worlds going to be in Sly 4 compared to Sly 3? You said they're bigger. You said that you're trying to
double.
Double?
Yeah, I'd say if you're comparing it to Slide 2 or Slide 3, I'd say double the size. You thought it was hard trying to find the bottles in the old games. We have the same 30 bottles back, but the environments are much larger and a lot more dense. So,
is one of the unlockables eventually a bottle finder? Bottle radar? Bottle sense? Seems like something Bentley would come up with.
I'm surprised we haven't had a clockwork question yet. That's usually our first. It's early. That's usually our first
Lots
one.
of stuff here for 2 hours.
How many ancestors are in the game, and is clockwork back?
We have an ancestors question. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
The Big Red Giant tweets at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper. What influenced you to choose the ancestors that you did from the long list of Coopers?
That is a very good question.
Good job.
We had a dartboard.
No. We just tried to vary it up as much as possible. We haven't unveiled all the ancestors yet.
But you're going to do it right here.
Yeah, we're going to do it right now. In the we just picked ones we thought would be the most fun to play, and also had the most contrast between each other.
That's a big part of it, right? Because when you're going through time, you're learning a new thing and you're getting a new outfit.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that
was probably the worst description I could have given you of what's going to happen. You're learning a new thing. You put it on the back of the box. You're learning
all about
a new
the things,
thing,
man.
Getting a new outfit. That's what everybody wants out of games these days.
But yeah, we just picked the ones that had the most contrast and also personalities too. Every ancestor you meet, they have their own personality, and some of them may not necessarily clash. It clashes a little bit with the gang, and then you meet another one that's really likable. So it's really fun playing up those different personalities and gameplay styles.
Okay. BardaPack44, for your first tweet ever, you are going to win a copy of the Sly Collection. Congratulations. Woo! Also some fabulous prizes that Eric will put in the box with you. Not with you, with the game. You know. You are not in a box, clearly. You are safe to be in. Right now, playing as Murray. Murray's back. What are Murray's abilities here?
Well, I really like to stomp and grab these rats and then use the one rat to beat the snot out the other rat. Oh damn, I missed him.
Showing you.
And you got the thunder flop. And so at the start of the game, when you're playing as each new character, you'll see you have all the help text that comes out. Sometimes that stuff's kind of annoying. It takes up most of the screen and you don't want it all the time. That stuff will just display the first couple times. And then it's gone.
Just to give you the hang of it. Yeah.
Just to give you the hang of it. If you want it back, you can pause the game and bring it up again. And then we also have help, so you could go through and see all the moves too.
I was happy to see you kept health, not just one hit kills. I gotta find a horseshoe. I was like,
No more horseshoes. I always liked Sly 1 though. I mean, and that's the thing we looked at in Sly 1 was really the boss battles. Which we talked about in the past at E3 and so forth. Just the pattern-based boss battles, and I was really happy when we showed the El Jefe fight, just the reaction we got. People were on board with us. They're like, we love those boss battles too, I want more of them. So we
Was that a
went with,
concern for you? I mean, that's something I talk about in the preview, right? Is that Sly feels like Sly, but of course Sly was the PlayStation 2 that was years ago. Maybe for somebody whose first system is this, they don't know.
Yeah, it always is. And, you know, like I said before, coming here and having people say, oh, this feels like it. This is exactly what I want out of you know, Sly Cooper is a good thing to hear. You know, for me, the PlayStation 2 era, early 2000 or whatever, that is really the golden age of the PlayStation brand. You know, Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter,
Oni.
You know, Sly Cooper, you know, all Oni.
I was waiting. Oni was terrible, if you don't remember.
And but you know, there's just some great games from that era, and when you talk to people about the PlayStation catalog, it's always around that time. You know, granted, PS1, you had the, you know, Spyro's, the MGS, and some other great games, but, you know, that era is important, and it's somewhat tapered off. So to bring these games back, and, you know, the previews and everything has been really positive, is just great. You know, it's nice to see that people want to play these games again. And if you want more of these kind of games, you know, pick up Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, because, you know,
vote with your dollars, as we always say on podcast.
Exactly.
Support developers.
Was that a good
games.
commercial? That's like an infomercial.
No,
right there.
see, that was an honest one. That's not the usual. That's not the usual. If you get out here trying to sell your product, what's going on?
It's the steal it button.
Oh, okay. There he goes. And his calling card.
What the? Really think you were
Uh-oh.
gonna get away with
Wow. X.
Hey,
As if we knew what we were doing, we have a question about Carmelita.
Oh boy, how did I know this was coming?
At Eback the Cat tweets at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper. He says, I noticed that Carmelita has a new voice actor. Was this an intentional joke because she never has the same VO twice?
But you know, I'll tell you something. What we do with the VO in general, is you know, we get a bunch of actors. We write a couple lines for them to read through, and you know, I put them in a bunch of folders. I delete the actor's name because we don't want, and then we send it out to a bunch of people on the team, and then we have an Excel sheet where everyone rates. I like number 1. I like number 2. I like whatever. And
then we throw that away.
No.
Then we go outside.
And then we have a dartboard.
and you know, that that ensures that we can pick the quality, you know, voice actor for the particular job. It's not like, oh, you know, this actress was on CSI or whatever else. I really like them. Let's pick them. So you know, we just pick on quality. It wasn't intentional to get a new VO actor, but I think the actress that we have now will probably stay for good. She's pretty good.
So did you make Sly audition for his part again too? Did you make Sly audition for his part again too?
Those guys are good to go. Those guys are good to go. And
this is one of my favorite little nods you have here.
What nod would that be, Greg?
The time machine disappearing, fire trail, and the license plate screen. Just such a, and like this is a great open, by the way. Man, I sound like a nerd. But I mean, it's just such a great, you know, I mean, a great introduction to the actual game and kind of give the epic feel to what's happening.
That is a good segue into the next thing, which is we do have another demo that is coming out in January, and you'll be able to play through what we just played through here. So the demo will be the Paris prologue intro.
Great. Well, we just spoiled everything for you. Thank you for watching.
But you get to feel, you get to pick up the controller and feel.
Well, of course, they could feel it right now if they went out and bought the Sly collection, or if they tweeted at IGN hashtag Sly Cooper for their chance to win the Sly collection and/or Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. Hey guys, when does Sly Cooper Thieves in Time come out? If people wanted to buy it, like with their money and stuff.
With their money, February the 5th.
February the 5th, right around the corner.
Yep.
2013, big year.
Big year.
Big first half of the year too. Not even first half, first 3 months. First 2 months,
big
first
quarter.
month.
Yeah.
Are you excited to be part of that, or is it one of those things where you're like, oh god?
We can't wait for people to have the game in their hands. You know, it's been something that we've been working on for a long time, and we really love, and we really put our heart and soul into. And we just can't wait for people to be able to pick up and play it.
Yeah.
That's the greatest validation for us, is seeing it out there and people enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, just being here, I mean, from that initial pitch to, you know, being where we are now, it's just been a true honor, and, you know, to have people play the game and they enjoy it, and it feels like Sly Cooper, and it's what they'd expect on the PlayStation 3. It's just great.
Let's go back to Twitter. Remember, be part of the show. Tweet at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper. Let's see what we got here. Oh, here, since you asked for it, you called it out. At Rez_AN AWR. Are there any prominent references or appearances of Clockwork, as he was a big part of Sly's ancestor lore?
That would be a good thing.
Would it now?
I'll say, we follow the continuity of the games to a T. So if there's things that have happened or been referenced in older games, we don't forget about that.
Whose job was that to go in the studio to play through them all and write everything down?
I think we played through them a million times in this.
Oh, in the Sly collection, available at retailers everywhere.
We know them inside and out. So, but we follow the continuity. Like I said before, I don't want a crystal skull. You want, the continuity, the characters, the things they've done, their personalities, what they've been through. You want to have that resonate and be brought back to Thieves in Time. So.
Was actually the inventor of sushi.
Loving his new crystal skull.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't. Hey, is that a good one?
His hat somewhere. This is what I get for watching IGN.
He was just about to pen Sly Cooper live action movie. I don't think so.
No, of course, I mean an infamous live action movie.
So with the ancestors, this is really the first time that you get to see, Ryuichi Cooper. Mm-hmm. And in the old games, there's not that much artwork or physical illustrated images of these guys. There's a couple small ones and some cutscenes here and there, and at the end of Sly 3. So we've had a lot of comments where people see them in the game and they're like, oh, he doesn't look exactly like, we go through a lot of iterations of models and stuff and feedback, and we let everybody look at it. So they really just evolve. We take that imagery. And we use it as much as possible, but
love that you kept the episodes, by the way.
The characters evolve when they get to the full game.
So now this is our first look at the hideout, pretty much, right? We're at ThiefNet now, one of the places to go in, upgrade your character.
One of the cool things I like about the menus is it's not like when you go in a menu, everything's gone in the back. Mm-hmm. You could still see Sly sitting there. It's just like your Bentley looking at the screen, and we did a lot of the UI in that manner. I'd buy the paraglider.
You think I should go for the paraglider?
That's what I got right away, too.
Yeah.
Buy the paraglider. Hey, and look, there's Alter Ego Bentley. So let's take a little tour of the hideout. Our costumes.
So as you unlock your ancestors' costumes, they go there?
You unlock costumes that you find in the episode, and then every way that you collect the costume is always different. So in Japan, you're pickpocketing the suit of armor, and then you get the whole suit of armor. You can use it to break out Ryuichi. But this is cool. So you can play ping pong anytime you want. You can play this single player. You can play this 2-player. Originally, this is funny, this was not going to be playable.
Oh yeah.
This was just here. And we had Nate and Brian came down from Sucker Punch for showing them some stuff. And Nate's like, that'd be great if you could play ping pong. I'm like, damn it. Now we gotta do it. So yeah, you can play ping pong.
This seems like meeting your girlfriend's parents. Damn it. We'll let down Nate Fox. Oh, what are we gonna do?
And then actually, if you go back to the left, there is an arcade that Murray's working on over there.
So eventually that'll be up and running.
Maybe, if you click on it, there's this cool little sound effect too. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'd be cool if it unlocked.
3 games in 1, ladies and gentlemen.
I like that. Or maybe if every episode had their own mini game arcade or something.
Oh, so many games in 1. And then what do we have here?
So this is the treasure collection. So every time you bring a treasure back, you'll be able to see it on the shelf. You can click on it. You can read the description, the title, and so forth.
Gotcha. At Shane O'Neill tweets at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper, just like you can, for your chance to be on the show, maybe win some stuff. Shane says, is the game going to have a lot of great movie references throughout it, a la the Back to the Future one we just saw?
There is a lot of pop culture references,
Yeah.
We had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, which I was ecstatic that people even got it when we did the preview. And then, we have the Back to the Future one. So yeah, there is a lot more of those little pop culture references. And there'll also be some, little surprises from other PlayStation franchises, maybe a couple little things. Nice. So I don't want to spoil everything, but
no.
It's
just the first 2 hours. We don't want to spoil everything, just the first 2 hours of the entire game.
Yeah, there's cool little pop culture stuff.
Okay. Right here we have Technology Dude 7 tweeting at IGN hashtag.
Oh, but this is going to be a smart question.
Did you guys add any new gadgets / bring back any old ones? We just, you just bought the glider we heard about.
Definitely old gadgets, definitely new gadgets. So yeah, again, we're looking to stay grounded to the way that the things that people liked, and then also bring them new experiences as well. So yeah, it kind of just flows with the gameplay.
So now, for ladies and gentlemen just joining us, Matt, where are we right now?
We are in feudal Japan, and we need to do a little reconnaissance mission to find out what's going on here.
You're gonna collect some bottles. Collect some
En
logos.
route. But I mean, that sort of speaks to the different ways that you can play the game. You can go in here into this hub world. You can follow the story. You can go and do the treasure challenges, run around in the hub and find the treasures, bring them back. Leading to various cool unlocks that we'll bring more details on later. You can go. You can be out hunting for the bottles. And yeah, or you can just go and pickpocket everybody and see all the cool loot you can bring back to ThiefNet and all the stuff.
There may
that
be
you
a
can unlock
trophy
in
for
there.
that.
That would be
my
good.
language, because that's what I did for a while in that preview. I just walked around.
That's the thing I like about Sly in general, or just any game, is the bombardment of gameplay options. If you want to go just cruise through the game and get to the end and just enjoy the story and go through that, that's fine. You could play it that way. If you want to go through a mission or two and then stop and collect a couple bottles, that's fine. There's always options. There's always gameplay options. Or maybe you get to a boss that's really difficult. Well, it's not like there's nothing else to do. You're just stuck into this bottleneck. There's options of gameplay. So,
a smorgasbord of things to do.
smorgasbord.
Shane O'Neill, you asked the question about Back to the Future. You just won yourself a copy of the Sly collection, along with some sweet swag. So enjoy that when it gets sent to you. Let's see what else we got here.
Missed one.
Now, there's been questions about Clockwork and things along those lines. Razman86 tweets at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper, and says, seeing as the game is based on going back in time to help the thieves, will we be visiting any key locations from past Sly Cooper games?
That's a good question.
Well, I like how you're thinking on your answer. That's a good question. Good job, Razman.
I think that Paris, features strongly in all in the sort of Sly Cooper kind of lore. He's a dashing, suave criminal, but yeah, and so that's definitely there. I think there's several references. But yeah, I think that's one of those things we're gonna have to
let the player find out.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
you don't want to
exactly.
spoil too
Yeah.
much.
So now, we've talked about the fact that, it's cross-buy, so same game on PlayStation 3 versus the Vita, but right there you were using binoculars, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe when I've played on the Vita for certain things, I'm using the gyroscopes, they say, right? To actually use binoculars. Would I be doing that here?
Yeah, I mean,
you could
the
use
idea
it
was
as an option.
when we moved things over onto the Vita, if it made sense and it was fun, then we'd implement it. And that was one of those areas where we're like, hey, this is kind of cool if I do this. It's kind of a nifty
An
experience.
arrow bucket. That's kind of cool.
If only I had a
I
bow
wish
and
I had
arrow.
an archer costume.
There's that
So-
Metroidvania gameplay you like so much. Come back! Use it with things you'll get later in the game.
Yeah, so and that's just kind of our approach to it. It wasn't this sort of like, okay, we've got a demo features of the Vita with the where they're fun and they're cool and they add to the experience. Then we put them in. It's like the Spark Runner minigame, and it was really cool to play it with the tilt controls. And so we put that in. Then a couple of things we tried and we're like, it's just not that much fun to do it this way. So.
Yeah.
We kind of skip it. So if it's fun, we'll do it.
Is it, and this I know now we're getting nitty gritty, is it mandatory that way, or are you giving the player the choice to play
There's
like...
an option.
It's an option? Oh,
Yeah.
like that's what I think. Razman86, I have some exciting news for you. You are the first person to win Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. The new game, not that old collection that you should run out and buy or win.
And
brand
play for
new.
the next month.
Yeah, exactly. Now keep in mind, Razman, we don't have the copies yet. They're coming. These guys promise they're going to finish the game any day now and send it to us.
We signed it. Blood.
It's actually weird. I haven't played this in a while.
Oh yeah?
We've been done with the game for a while, so it's kind of new to me too. I haven't played it in a little bit.
Well, I mean, you guys, I understand. You finished this game. You moved on to your next project, which was...
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
We'll get it out of him. Don't worry. Sure, it's a PSP game. What else we got a question? Okay, here we go. Smashman4 says, what are the plans for game post-release? Is there going to be any kind of DLC, or you guys, is this kind of a self-contained experience?
Well, we have, a demo coming out in January, which I mentioned, which will be the intro Paris stuff that we had played through. And I think that's out in January.
That's correct. You've said that.
Yeah. Maybe something else. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be very good.
Do you guys want more Sly Cooper? I don't know.
According to IGN readers and viewers, yes, you do.
I'll say maybe there will be a surprise.
Okay. That's a good. I like that.
Look at that. My numbers are increasing.
Yeah, no thanks to you. I noticed the numbers started going up when you stopped playing.
You have the camera inverted, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you're playing
do you play like that?
No, I don't. I thought you inverted it.
No, we need to change that.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. On the original, they didn't have that, but we added it for collection.
Yeah.
Because it's always kind of...
You gotta take care of those inverted people with their weirdness.
My upside down.
So you can go and you can replay any job, too.
Key to getting all the trophies, I'd imagine. Going back, getting bottles, doing things along those lines.
Yeah, I think that the bottle collection stuff is just again part of how you just flow through the hub. You don't necessarily have to be doing a mission to be able to go and do that. We just give you the option. You want to do that, you want to do this, totally up to you.
Gotcha. So we were talking about the fact that people want more Sly. Of course, people are super excited for Thieves in Time, which I don't think I was fully prepared to understand. Like, I love Sly Cooper. I was very excited to hear about a new Sly Cooper. But right now, if you go to IGN.com, you look at the page, top upcoming game, most anticipated game on IGN.com right now, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. That's crazy talk. Were you expecting that when you guys started making the game?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, right? I mean, obviously, you guys were big enough fans to go make a rogue demo, and try to steal it.
Rogue demo, I like that.
But, that's gotta, wow, that's awesome that it's still got that following.
It really is. Like I said, that's the golden age of the PlayStation brand. I want to see more of those characters. I want to experience more of those, kind of games. So, yeah, it's amazing to have it up there.
Is that more pressure for you? The game's done, obviously, now you just got to live with what you did.
This was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Just making a game that has this kind of following, and
All right, we have another question here. Remember, to be part of the show, tweet at IGN, #SlyCooper. This one comes from Zero Calcium Zero, and we've talked a bit about right now as far as tilting the Vita, using the camera on the Vita, the gyroscopes and the whatnots. Calcium Zero, he asks, what sort of touch controls, if any, are you going to incorporate on the Vita? Is there for Bentley's game, are you tracing or drawing or anything? Or
there's some tilt motion, and there's some options. A lot of times I don't necessarily like a game that forces you to play it in that particular manner. Like Glenn mentioned before, if it fits for the game, we'll use it, but there'll always be the option there to play either way. Play traditional. So here we've gained enough data, and now we're going to break into this prison to break out Ryuichi, but we can't just go in through the front door, so we're going to have to run around and collect some armor to get our first disguise.
Now, you were talking about this being different. This is different for every costume as far as how you get it?
Yeah, so like here we're pickpocketing, we're collecting the suit of armor, and then we're going to use the suit of armor to break into the prison to get Ryuichi. And this is the second job in the game. That does not necessarily mean that in the next episode it'll be the second job. You get the armor, nor the fashion you get it. It is always going to be different. And we try to mix it up that way. And that's the same with meeting the ancestors too. You're not always going to meet them right off the bat. You may meet them later in the episode. You may meet them at different times. So it's just we want to change that formula so it's just not so cookie cutter. Right. And we always want surprises. And that also goes for the story. When we started this game, we're taking a franchise that has a lot of unanswered questions. Mm-hmm. People want to know what happened at the end of Sly 2. It was kind of like a little cliffhanger. So when we started this game, we had that in our back pocket. People want these answers. Well, we're not going to answer them all right away. And you have to play a little bit. And as you play, we'll give a new problem or a new situation comes up. And we won't resolve it right away. You'll have to play a little more. So it's like I always look at like Pulp Fiction. It's like you love watching Pulp Fiction because you want to know what's in the suitcase. Yeah. You want to know what's in the suitcase. So we always kind of have these little tidbits of story information that keep you playing.
I love that you were able to compare Sly Cooper to Pulp Fiction.
All right, Crystal Skull, Pulp Fiction. What else do we
I
got?
wonder why there's
Rogue
so many
Demo.
movie references. in
Rogue
this
Demo. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn it, we need some Star Wars.
Okay, so now at Joe _21 Bennett tweets at IGN hashtag Sly Cooper, just like you should be doing if you want to win a copy of the game, if you want to be part of the show. He asks, or she asks, will there be loads of missions for each hub, or will there be a few but long missions? Because you're talking about how hub worlds are bigger, you know, they're so big and there's bottles hidden everywhere and all these things are going on. And then, of course, you know, you jump in, Sly moves off to his little logo to start the mission at hand.
There's not a finite number for each episode. They're all different amounts of missions that you'll have. But I will say that the missions, you know, we're still on the same mission here, and this is going to continue into the prison. That's one job.
Yeah.
So, looking at the old games, I would say they're much longer than the old games, and in terms of an exact number, they're all different per episode.
Okay.
So. The other thing we added, you saw like the chickens. I think there's some pigs up here too. We added these little critters that run around in each
Now
little
with more
hub.
chickens and pigs.
Another thing to put on the back
Dude,
of the box.
there's so much fun to see these little critters running around. You can get some extra coinage.
Joe Bennett, good news. You've won a copy of the Sly collection. Congratulations. Sly 1, 2, and 3, some Sly minigames, lots of trophies. All coming your way. Remember, if you want to win stuff or have a chance to win stuff, tweet at IGN hashtag Sly Cooper with your questions for Glenn and Matt, the two guys who made the game all by themselves.
Oh,
See, actually, I don't think these are inspired by Matt's dog.
yeah.
Pigs?
Yeah.
The little pigs.
Yeah. That was, near and dear to Matt. And I have the honor.
At IvaJosh1 tweets, how long was the development cycle for Sly?
Well, I mean, the original pitch that we did was back at the end of 2008.
Okay.
And so then in 2009, that's where we were working on the collection. So that took a chunk of time, but we're also doing a whole bunch of pre-production for Sly Cooper Thieves in Time over that year. So yeah, really since beginning of 2009, around there, until the end of this year, just a couple of months ago.
Before you moved on to your next project.
Yeah, that. And so here we're going to see an example of a costume in action. And in the previous games, you had the ability to use them as a disguise, and that was really fun. What we could do with that here, because now whenever he walks in front of these guards, they all start saluting him and all that kind of stuff. And so he's going to play that to actually gain access here.
Gotcha.
You there, open the door. A little short to be a commander.
There's the Star Wars one. Knew it would come up eventually.
Why, I am Major Mugshot. Huh? Mugshot? I've
Former
never
Sly
heard
Cooper.
of you. You dare question me?
Again, I like
Son,
bringing
I've been
those
a guard
references.
since
You know,
were
these
just a
characters have
squealing
lived through those
piglet.
games. They have
Wait
memories.
until
They
I
have,
tell the
you
general
really
about
want to
this.
play off that. So, it seems consistent, from the first game all the way to the fourth game. So.
Funny you should say that. At 07lol tweets at IGN hashtag Sly Cooper. I've not played Sly since the first one. How subtle are the references to the other games? Will I be missing anything?
No. But I mean, if you're a fan and you've played the other ones, you'll be like, "Oh man, that's cool."
Right,
Totally.
but you can pick up the story. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, totally.
Time is being erased. Fix it. Still 0 trophies. Not a fan of that, let me tell you. All right, you guys did really good with Sly.
We're gonna
collection.
get one soon.
All right, good. It's about time. Remember, what do you guys want to see for trophies? Tweet at IGN hashtag Sly Cooper. Let them know. We'll put it in this game. They will run back and recode
Well, we
the
do have a
trophies.
time machine.
Exactly, right? We'll get an artifact from 2009 when you guys pitched the game.
Yeah.
At Nate Palacio, he tweets, will this Sly Cooper follow a formula of collecting an artifact from the present, then heading back in time?
No.
Nothing formulaic about this one. Also, is that a tickle machine?
Yes.
Just making sure I saw that right. You guys are twisted. The slap and the kick of the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that, like, there is, kind of, a structure, but then we also sort of took this approach where we're like, hey, if it's fun, we'll do it. We won't be like, you have to have 7 of those, and after you've collected the 7 of those, then no, we kind of play around with that, and we're just like, are you having fun? And that's going to drive everything.
I mean, that's the cool thing about like working on a game of, like Sly Cooper, is there is no formula. And, if you've seen the old games, the types of gameplay you're doing are always so varied. It's like, this is a stealth mission, then next you're driving an RC car, then next you're playing a hacking game.
Then there's like an arena battle system where things are coming in, you gotta protect something.
Yeah, there's just so many types of gameplay. As a developer looking at the old games, and we're going through, don't forget the mask over there.
Like playing with your little brother.
Go left, go left.
I love
no,
this.
I meant
love
right.
This, by the way.
But it's a daunting task because it's a lot of work. It's not like if you're playing like a COD, like a Call of Duty game or whatever. Granted it looks amazing on screen, but generally you're just moving forward, shooting.
Right.
Whereas like a game like this, we have so many different types of gameplay all the time. So. Now this particular scene we're looking at here, so we have a situation where we have these boar guards and they're eating and we're going to sneak by them. This scene has been in the game almost the longest, I think.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because this was in one of our original demos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always resonated and stuck
Why
around.
why was this scene so important to make it that
I just
far?
thought it was kind of funny.
It really gives
And
that
stealthy.
Sly Cooper vibe of like, you know something they don't, you're kind of sneaking through, doing your thing, and while they're busy carrying on with their lives.
Yeah.
Like, you especially get that vibe when you're upstairs, on the rooftops, and you're making your way around. It's so cool to look down, on the guards and things like that, and you've got that. It's sort of empowering. You're like,
Yeah. So that's part of being, the stealthy guy, right? To be this thief.
yeah, and this kind of vibe too here. Oh yes, I'm gonna, confidently march my way through here. Blah 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 blah.
So in the samurai costume, you can't jump. You're bounded to the ground, but you can walk through fire, and you can also deflect fireballs.
At Going Ape Escape. The Sly collection has always had some tough challenges, but will trophies send us on ridiculous quests just to get that gold trophy?
No, I mean there's a lot of
inspirational quests.
There's a lot of the trophies. There's some progressive ones. Like we'll get one here when we break out Ryoichi. But then there's
second too early.
But then there's also a lot of gameplay relative trophies. So an example would be stealth takedown, X number of guards in X amount of time without getting caught. So I like trophies like that because they're gameplay.
Right.
They're inherent
right.
gameplay, and they're going to get you to do something you normally wouldn't do.
See, that's it. For me, that's what I dig about trophies. Is games that can put something in there to make me use a weapon I never would, or to play a certain way I never would, right?
Exactly. It'd be like level up every gun, in a Ratchet game.
Yeah.
You might not. You might just stick with one gun for the whole game, but then you're gonna.
That's your choice.
That's your
Wrong way
choice.
to play a Ratchet, by the way. But,
But yeah, I like those ones. I like the gameplay ones, and we have a handful of progressive ones, and then there's a couple metagame collection ones, and maybe some for some high scores or something else.
Now, of course, I was bugging you at lunch about this, just to confirm for everybody. One trophy list, so it's shared back, but
that is correct.
Between no double sound shapes. We're not getting crazy thing.
No.
Did you think about doing that? Because that would have been.
No, I think that's kind of annoying.
What?
I mean, well, you got it once.
Yeah, and now I get double rewarded. I'm like, yes. Oh.
Always for the points, this one.
Yeah, no, I got to make sure I continue to stay in front of Colin Moriarty, which I am.
Oh, is that what it is? You guys have a battle
Him and I go back and forth.
of platinum. So who's number one right now?
Now you're starting to talk like Colin Moriarty. The battle is who is the higher level, and I have the higher level.
I see.
Colin
What
has more
level are you
platinums
at?
than me. We're both level 22.
22.
I'm 38% through level 22 at the moment.
Nice.
Colin is in the 20%.
I think I'm at 11.
Oh, come on, you guys, step it up.
I know.
Step your game up, as Marcus would say. Everyone remember Marcus? PSP. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Oh, good news. Going_Ape Escape wins the collection. You win the Sly collection. Thank you so much. Look for a direct message from IGN that we're doing. If you want your chance to win copies of the game, both the collection and Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, and some fabulous coffee mugs and t-shirts. Tweet at IGN, hashtag Sly Cooper. We'll read your question on the air. If I then say you win it, you win it. Don't you? Just because you got your question read doesn't mean you won it. Don't annoy me on my personal Twitter.
Don't forget
at
the
GameOverGreggy.
to the right.
Follow me at GameOverGreggy. They're not going to put it on the screen, but trust me. At Thomas L20 tweets, how far back in time does Sly and the gang go back?
He kind of travels all over the place. I mean, it's not. I don't want to give anything
I know,
away,
you don't want to tip it in,
but yeah, we kind of move through time, back and forth, forward, backwards, present, all over the place.
Now you're talking about, if you're putting it in the game as long as it's fun. Did you worry about the actual perils of time travel, undoing history?
There is so many. The time travel aspect of the game in general can get extremely complicated and convoluted, and that's something we just didn't want to tackle. We try to keep it as simplistic as possible.
Yeah.
Another question we get a lot too is, what's the time difference between Sly 3 and this game? We never explicitly say how many years it's been or whatever. It's just, it's been a little bit after the third game, and we leave it at that. Because it's once you have that hard number, you're stuck to that hard number.
And that's not really what Sly's about, right? Like, I mean, watching and playing it always gives me that feeling, especially with the episodic stuff, right? It always gives me that feeling of, this is a cartoon I'm participating in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't need to get bogged down in details. Because if I did, it would be really creepy that a guy pretends he was a different person to have a girlfriend for a long, long time. That's when it gets weird, Mr. Cooper. I can deal with all the stealing. Breaking Carmelita's heart. What are you doing? Here we go. Ancestor in peril. We need to get to it.
So that's Steve Bloom does the voice of Ryoichi, and he's just a really good voice actor. Did a great job on Ryo.
How does it work getting in the studio with these guys? Are you there coaching them as it goes, telling them a little bit more, a little bit less?
We get, myself or, someone from the team will go down and, they'll get the script a couple days